Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Incredible, hard-hitting talk, radio, and TV continue now. I'm Sam Bushman, the good sheriff. Sheriff Richard Mack is with me with the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org. Become a member today and help us educate sheriffs and public officials around the country to their oaths of office, to the proper role of limited government, to making sure and guaranteeing due process for we the people, and a whole lot more. CSPOA.org. Sheriff Richard Mack beat Bill Clinton at the Supreme Court, and it's been telling the tale of truth ever since for the good sheriff. Well, we've got star-studded people all over the broadcast today. We've got former Congressman Steve Stockman with us as well. He was a congressman 2 separate times, went home to take care of loved ones between, but he actually got elected twice. Gave him heck while he was there. It was incredible. Well, we've got good news, Steve. Welcome to the show, sir, and the announcement's all yours, my friend.
Well, I had the support of your listeners and the support of Richard, who's a great guy, too. By the way, join his group. In fact, double your dues, whatever the dues are, give him twice as much. But we filed yesterday, along with another fellow Texan, your favorite, Jasmine Crockett, and I think she got a little more press than we did. But we're ready to serve the Texas Congressional District 9, where I represented once before, and they redrew the district. People probably don't know this. One of the reasons why I couldn't get reelected in 96 is the Supreme Court drew districts in the middle of the districts in 1996, and I had to run again in December. I won in November, and then in December we had some precincts with 122% turnout. Very patriotic precincts.
Yeah. Yeah. You love that, Steve, when people get out and vote more than there are people to vote. Don't you just love
That's right.
that?
Yeah.
But there's no
in
election
fact,
fraud in America. There's no election fraud in America. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I joke because I always say I put my yard signs in the cemetery so I can try to sway some of their voters.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not really for dead people voting, but you know what? This announcement, Steve Stockman, is the third time the charm, sir?
Well, yeah, I mean, I did 2 times before, and I'm actually, someone said I'm like a cicada. I come out every 20 years. So when I started out, I was considered really young and unwise, and now by the time I get back, I'm going to be considered wise because I have all gray hair now. But it's really a unique time in our history, and I, quite frankly, am very disturbed about how our country is turning into weaponizing the government against the citizens. A lot of people don't know this, but I understand that the new FBI building that had Camilla one was larger than the Pentagon. And the only time you need to build something like that is not for crime, but for doing what they did in January 6th, arresting grandmas and attacking Catholics and people of faith. And we're still in the prefaces. I don't think the threat is over. Everybody's happy Trump won, but remember, he's got a little over 2 years, 3 years left, and then we don't know what could happen. And people in Texas forget, actually across the nation forget, Texas used to be a very Democrat state. We had Ann Richards all the way down the ballot was a Democrat. And I don't discount Crockett running. I think that's alarming, and we need more people to run that are conservative to fight. It's sad we see people with empty ballots with no one to choose from because they don't run. So it's really imperative that we get our good guys running, and that's one reason why I stepped up, because I was frustrated with the way that we're not cleaning house fast enough. I'd like to see more political people that are against our American values terminated and kicked out of the government.
Now, I think it's really helpful for the American people to kind of understand your story. There's headlines saying, hey, convicted Steve Stockman, this and that. But you got to really tell the tale, though. They literally created the blueprint on our dear friend Steve and then used it on Donald Trump himself. Isn't that really kind of how it went, Steve?
100%. It was Jack Smith that did it to me. In fact, at the end of our trial, one of the attorneys turned to the other attorney and says, man, we can use this against Trump. I mean, they were thinking about Trump even back then. We've been at it for 10 years fighting the government, and the government fighting us. And they have unlimited money, unlimited resources. In fact, it took them 4 grand juries, and I don't know if Sheriff Mack knows this, but it's highly unusual to go to 4 grand juries to get a conviction or indictment, rather. And that's what it took, and they spent $22 million. So I think they pretty much can convict or anybody, even Mother Teresa, that could convict the way the process is now. And they have, I think it's 97% conviction rate, which is on par almost with the old Soviet Union. And it's really alarming, though. I mean, everybody you talk to, there's so many people that have been investigated by the FBI, and they're all on our side. It's not a coincidence. It's, you know, and of course, then when you start going after them, they say, oh, political targeting. And in fact, that's what they've been practicing against Trump. They're talking apart. They want to impeach him. If they take the House, they want to impeach him again. So they don't quit. We got to remember that when we win, it's so funny. Conservatives always quit. We need to forget quitting, and even when we win, we need to keep fighting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sheriff?
Well, yeah, I wanted to be sure because that's one of my key issues. Grand juries, the grand jury system has been so bastardized by state and local DAs and prosecutors. So the first 3 times, the grand juries were hung, or they said no, and then finally the 4th time they got a grand jury to indict you. Is that what happened?
Yeah, and what they did is the FBI or the DOJ, rather, the lawyers would, if someone screwed up their, testimony the way they didn't want, they didn't invite them back. So they kept whittling it down till they found the right group, and then they used that for the trial. They didn't invite any of the people that countered their narrative. They create this narrative and then just, but yeah, right. The grand jury process is horrible. In fact, one of the prosecutors, they said, you mean it's guilty that Wells Fargo opened up a savings account, which I didn't even tell them to do. That's one of the things that Wells Fargo got in trouble for, was creating, and I got charged 60 years. It was wire fraud, mail fraud, and money laundering for Wells Fargo opened up a savings account. It's called stacking the charges. And one of the persons in the grand jury says, you mean he can be held guilty for having them open a savings account? And this is what's so horrible. The prosecutor said, they're not supposed to do this. Anything Stockman does is a crime. That was the response. You can't. That's not a grand jury of that's.
Yeah,
tainted.
Steve
And you're
marries
right.
his dear wife that's been faithful as all get out, and that's a crime, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Well, you heard what they said when Jesus walked on water. In New York Times and Washington Post headline said, "Jesus can't swim."
Correct. That's
wow. So let's talk about your story, though. So Jack Smith literally piloted his, I don't know what you want to call it, lawfare on Steve Stockman, took 4 grand juries to convict him. The problem is that the judge thinks that the judge is the law, not the rule of law. And so they just simply give bogus instructions to the jury and manipulate what evidence can be. They twisted arms. They got people to cave. They finally got Steve. Thanks to President Trump, you've been commuted of your sentence and brought home, thank the heavens. But at the same time, you still need a pardon from President Trump to completely get through this. The problem that I see is the mainstream press isn't really telling the whole story, are they?
No, and they refused. And I was really upset. The Washington Examiner took stuff. Becoming the press is so lazy. What they do now is they take it off the internet and run it through AI, and that's the story. And what people don't know is that what's shocking to me, I didn't realize this till afterwards. They told me during my trial they had hired 2 PR firms, which they shouldn't be allowed to do. They also hired a jury consultant. I mean, it was unbelievable what they did. So they had 2 PR firms cranking stuff out, and at the same time, the judge was telling us that we couldn't talk about it. But the DOJ was cranking out these press releases. And our side, the conservative side, didn't question the press releases come from the DOJ or investigate. They just took whatever they saw, and it was so distorted and so twisted. I mean, it boiled down to a newspaper, which I created against John Cornyn, and the judge was help appointed to that position by John Cornyn. So, I mean, it was just so crooked throughout the whole thing, and that's unfortunate, but that's exactly what they did to Trump. I mean, if you look at Trump charges, they really are, quote, trumped up charges. It's crazy. I mean, they bent the rules to indict him. they rewrote the law so it could go back past the statutory limits, and they claim that Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million, which is just hilarious, and convicted him. And no one bats an eye at this stuff. This is really undermining the foundations of our nation. And we got to wake up, because one day it's me, one day it's Trump. The next day, when they build that big FBI, it's going to be everybody in the Catholic Church, the Mormon Church, any other faith, Buddhists. They're going to end up in prison because you're fighting against the agenda of socialism. And it repeats itself in South Korea, Brazil. All these countries have this. Oh, sorry.
Hang tight, Steve. Quick pause, ladies and gentlemen.
Right,
you got
sorry.
Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA, on with us. You've got Congressman Steve Stockman running for office now. His announcement on Liberty Roundtable. He's running, ladies and gentlemen. We need your support, Stockman, now to learn more. Anyway, hang tight. We've got a lot straight ahead. You're watching Liberty Roundtable live. All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen, in the roundtable. Sam Bushman, Sheriff Richard Mack, Steve Stockman. I'm just going to call him Congressman because he was a congressman twice and he's running now. If we don't have too much lawfare, the third time will be the charm, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk a little about, we know your story. Hey, they criminally attacked you. All the clowns that assembled on Donald Trump assembled on you first and refined their lawfare extraordinaire against you. And then they refined it and used it on Donald Trump. It's a tragic reality, to say the least. Hopefully Donald Trump, instead of pardoning Democrat congressmen from Texas and then wishing he didn't because they're running on the Democrat ticket, Trump calling it a betrayal, to befriending this clown communist, in my humble opinion, in New York. When's Trump going to get advisors around him like Steve Stockman, Sam Bushman, Sheriff Richard Mack, different people that could bring, Steve would bring an incredible congressional perspective to President Trump. Sheriff Mack would bring an incredible law enforcement and peace officers association solution to the table. I would bring a talk show host, media man solution to the table. Trump needs to get, by the way, Steve Stockman, I'm a self-appointed Trump advisor. What do you think of that?
I like that. I'm going to come to you now. I need a pardon.
There you go. Sheriff Mack, I don't even know how to respond to some of this, though. It's so off the charts, lawfare extraordinaire. It's so crazy that they're so above the law, and it's become so blatantly obvious. The evidence stacks up. The details come out. Look at the interview we did last hour with Ian Trottier, and the criminal activity with John Brennan there. Steve, do you have a lot of intel on John Brennan?
Yeah, he's a former, well, not former, I think he probably still is a communist, and under his reign in charge of the CIA, we had a lot of agents that mysteriously started dying right after he got his appointment. I just don't think he's dishonest. He should be in jail. And that's probably one reason why the left opposed me to getting back in power, because I issued an arrest warrant for Lois Lerner, and then 2 weeks later they came knocking on my door. That's one of the things that ticked them off, is they don't want anybody fighting back, and I'll fight back, and I always fought back. And I paid the price for fighting back, but I think we need more congressmen like that, and he needs to be held accountable.
Like Thomas Massey and company, Sheriff.
I'll tell you this. I really like Tom Massey, and I really loved you when you were in Congress. I still love you, obviously. But I have a huge announcement here. I don't know if I was the first, but I was one of the first who donated to your campaign. Are you aware that I gave a pretty good donation to your campaign?
I was not allowed to. I was not privy to that. You're talking about the draft.
So are you talking about when he ran before, or are you talking about
right now?
Okay, so he didn't have a campaign. Yeah. We were trying to draft Steve Stockman, and
whatever the money went to, I used it to hopefully draft you, get you in there, and
you got it done, Sheriff. You and everybody else, we got it done.
Yeah, I was not. I was, because it was called an independent expenditure. I don't want to step over FEC violations, because that's part of the reason they went after me. And I was not aware of who. Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
I'll do it again. What I'm trying to make sure everybody understands is now we can donate to your campaign, right?
That's right.
Right. And by the way, the effort to draft me was really successful. Lou Moore was the head of that. He's from formerly the head of Ron Paul's. Well. Yeah, he was the head of
just for the audience understanding, it was Ron Paul's a campaign manager back in the day,
Presidential-
worked for Congressman Metcalf for a long time. He's got a lot of experience in this, and he ran the Draft Stockman campaign, stockmannow.com. Now it's a real campaign, though. First it was to draft Steve. We got that done. We're to the next stage, ladies and gentlemen, and the media's going berserk already, Steve.
Yeah, we wanted to create it. We asked AI to show videos of liberals' heads exploding, and AI refused to do it. It said we can't have, public figures' head exploding. So,
and did you say it's just figurative, AI? It's just figurative. Come on now.
Yeah. What I wanted to do is make a liberal's head explode, vote Stockman, but AI wouldn't let us do that. So it was still a pretty funny concept. But
we just got to get a great artist that can do it. That'll do it. That's all.
Yeah. But I appreciate it, Sheriff, and I like I said, I wasn't out aware, but I understand they collected almost 4,000 signatures, which is quite a few signatures. So your efforts and your contributions were beneficial.
Well, I was only bragging about that so I could get that advertised to everybody else to get going on the donations to your campaign now.
Stockmannow.com is where you go, people.
We run a tight ship.
Good. Well,
we really do.
And tell me the district again and where it is.
Well, I represented it, but believe it or not, 31 years ago, I was in District 9 in Texas. And then the Supreme Court in 1996, by the way, mid-decade, which everybody says never happens. And actually, this is the third time the Supreme Court interceded in Texas's line. And back in 96, they drew my district and made it even more Democrat. And over the subsequent years, it became more and more Democrat. I don't know if you remember a congressman waving his cane during Trump's speech, and he called for impeachment, Al Green. Well, that guy that did that, it was representing District 9, my old District 9. Well, now they redrew the lines, and it's back to where it pretty much, not always, but a lot of the district, I represent 75% of the district. It's more conservative, but I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk. It's going to be competitive because they used Trump's vote, which was high watermark. It's like using a flood mark for the level of a sea or something. But anyhow, so it's still going to be a competitive district, but it's mostly East Houston and Liberty County. Liberty County is where they have this Colony Ridge, where the illegal immigrants have taken over and the Muslims have come in there, and the population of Liberty County used to be 8,000, and they're stuffing, and this primarily, by the way, because of Obama. We documented that. Allow these Obama and Biden allow these illegal immigrants coming in, and they're wanting to put as many as 100,000 illegal immigrants in Liberty County. They used to only have 8,000 people. It's quite horrendous the way they're using immigration to change the demographics and to change the electoral map, and they're being quite successful, honestly.
Just election fraud going on in our country.
Yep. Yeah, and they count them in the census. I wish Trump would really push harder and not count them, because California and New York and Illinois would all lose, seats. And the seats are what determine the presidential election through the Electoral College. So it'd make it very difficult for the Democrats to win if we didn't count citizens. I think it's such a paramount thing they should address. That if they don't count illegal aliens, as they're doing now, they're counting illegal aliens. If they don't count them in the census, then that's going to be a dramatic shift. Texas will pick up like 5 new congressional seats. In Florida,
it would be criminal though to put those people into the census and pretend that they can manipulate districts. That would be election fraud.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, that's why the Democrat Party wanted to bring in millions and millions of illegal aliens so they could get them registered to vote. Actually, Clinton did that same thing back when he was president. They brought them in, got them registered to vote. There was evidence of that all over. Several states are making sure that they get driver's licenses so it's easier for them to get registered to vote. And that's why they did it. That's why California went from a Ronald Reagan state to a Nancy Pelosi state. And
we actually, by the way, Sheriff, we actually documented that. When I was in office, I had a study commission in parallel when illegal aliens became legal, and we documented those people, and it showed that once in California, that's where the majority of illegal aliens were at that time. Once Reagan did that, it was supposed to be one time, and then it, of course, again, didn't flood it. But we documented where this California actually changed because of that. It's well documented. What you're saying is 100% true.
It is. Well, we're really pulling for you, Steve. We know that you've been attacked, and I was similarly when I ran for sheriff in Utah County after I lost the race in Arizona, pursuant to my Supreme Court victory against the Clintons. The FBI and IRS raided my office 3 days before the election, and the Provo Daily Herald, being the only newspaper at the time, the headline was already ready, and it was the biggest headline I've ever seen in my life. Mack raided by the FBI, and so I lost the election.
And then they had the audacity for no follow-up whatsoever. There was no continued questions. There was no subpoena. There was all there was a, well, we've accomplished our goal and we dropped it plan. That's one that Trump needs to take up and prosecute for.
Yeah, nothing. No, but they
did that. I don't know. They were mad at our friend Henry Cuellar down in the valley there in Texas. And Trump was mad at him, but I'm kind of glad we have a Democrat that's attacking the Democrat Party, because we can say, oh, the attacks are bipartisan. He's hated by, because I serve with him, and he's hated by the Democrats because he votes he's the only pro-life Democrat left. He's against immigration. In fact, a lot of times he votes more with Republicans than the Republicans do. And Trump was mad at him for not switching parties, but I like having a Democrat on TV saying, these Democrats are wrong. And but anyhow,
all right, hang tight, everybody. When we get back, I want to talk about Steve Stockman's campaign, what he's going to focus on in the campaign, what he's going to focus on when he takes office. That's my prayer. That's what I'm hoping for, ladies and gentlemen. StockmanNow.com is the site to focus on, ladies and gentlemen. Sheriff Richard Mack with me. And by the way, we've all been attacked. I had the FCC, the USDA, and the IRS attack me all at the same time back in the day. Thank the good heavens, with some great people around me, I beat them all. We're standing for liberty, ladies and gentlemen. Hang tight. More in seconds. You're watching the one and only hard-hitting Liberty Roundtable Live. Former Congressman Steve Stockman, ladies and gentlemen, by the grace of God, released from prison, wrongly dealt with, just like Donald Trump was. Lawfare extraordinaire at the helm. The people that did that should be in prison. Steve still needs a pardon. Thank heavens for his committed sentence. But listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. This is incredible. I want to highlight this phrase from his public press release. They call me a rebel. If defending the Constitution and the personal liberty of every American citizen makes me a rebel, then I'm a rebel with a cause. Steve, I love it. That's what we need more of in America. You're therefore unreservedly declaring your election candidacy for the United States Congress representing Texas. A fierce declaration, ladies and gentlemen, declaring our nation's promise. Let's talk about that promise. Steve? Let's get Steve back. This promise is incredible, though. It's the Founding Fathers'
Can you hear
promise.
me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
So I'm saying that there's a promise that America really has. The promise is that we'll protect Americans with due process, with the rule of law. We will not let lawfare get out of control. We'll stand for the sacred cause of liberty with checks and balances. Sheriffs will interpose and protect the American people. Congressmen and senators will keep their oaths of office and reduce the size and scope of government. The promise simply is this: we don't seek for power, we seek to pull it down, Steve.
That's right. And the problem is that we've got too many guys that get elected, and they go there, and the first job that they feel they have is to get reelected. And Republicans or conservatives should not make that their number one priority. Their first is to defend this nation, and we are under attack now. The Democrat Party, I mean, John Kennedy now would be considered extremist. It's really amazing how far the Democrats have moved to from the left to just absolute crazy bonkers. I mean, some of the stuff they're advocating, they rename genital mutilation. They call it gender affirming care now. I mean, it's Orwellian in every aspect of the life, freedom is slavery. They're wanting everything, the government do everything for you, and then borrow money, unlimited money from China, and they expect no consequences for the behavior. And we know that's not true. There are consequences to behavior. And unfortunately, there's too many people that believe that. And then we, the sane people, become outnumbered, and you end up with people that are in charge who are just, really pretty crazy. And the Democrat Party is trying to out-crazy each other in terms of their agenda. And I just don't think the average Americans ever align with that kind of philosophy.
Sheriff?
Really, he's called it correct every time, and I'm really grateful that you're running again, Steve. That you and Patty have the courage to go through this again. And what happened to you was such an outrage and an injustice, and we've got to make sure that we're focusing our efforts to eliminate injustice uh, from America, from the system, and the corruption of this country, and the you are absolutely correct. It's absolutely mind blowing and just petrifying what the Democrat Party has done to destroy our country, destroy the American dream, destroy decency and honesty in government. And I'm actually working on a book on that. But in fact, I just mentioned your good wife. How's she holding up with all of this and her health and everything else? How is it going with you and Patty?
Well, Patty worked for NASA for 41 years, and Elon offered to buy out, government employees, and she took the offer back in February, and she retired effectively in October 1st. And so now the first thing she does is retire, and now she's back working again, getting us elected, and she's a wonderful companion. And frankly, I would still be in prison if it wasn't for Patty and her prayers. She even picketed the prison, and the prison punished me for that. And Patty said, "Do you want me to stop?" And I said, "No, double it." She's an incredible warrior, and she's just an amazing person. I'm very blessed to.
And I'm going to tell you a little,
we're-
not to interrupt, Steve, but I'm going
Go
to tell you
ahead.
a little story. I worked with Patty quite closely when Steve was in prison because we were discussing Steve's health. COVID rifled through there and caused all kinds of problems, and they let everybody go home except for Steve because it was a political hit job in the first place. So they wanted to just, extract the most amount of retribution as they could on poor Steve. And I worked with Patty in quite detail during that time. And I'm telling you right now, Steve's a hero. But Patty's twice his hero. She is, I'm just telling you right now, she is a rock star for the sacred cause of liberty. Sometimes the quarterback like Steve gets all the credit, but I'm telling you, she deserves double the credit, Steve. She is tremendous, a faithful wife, put her money where her mouth is, spent her time, her energy, her prayers, I could keep going, but I'm telling you, that's a story from the inside, people.
Yeah, people don't realize that she worked full-time for NASA. Then she worked full-time getting my pardon, including picketing the prison, all kinds of things. And then she drove, when I was up in Dallas, and I'm from the Houston area, she drove the time over 3 hours each way. And one time, which really was alarming, she fell asleep. She just energizing battery, and it's just really incredible testimony. And so many people say that about her, that I really think she should write a book on her journey through that, because it is quite a phenomenal story. And you're right, I'm very appreciative of what she did and what God has done in my life. And I'm almost 3 years, and everybody thinks that congressmen get special treatment. Unfortunately, if you're a Christian white conservative, you do get special treatment, but not the kind of treatment you'd think. We got thrown in what's called the SHU, which is really solitary. It's called Special Housing Unit. That's where they get the word SHU from. And we get thrown in there frequently. In fact, when I first got there, they put me in solitary confinement. They had chains on me like I was Hannibal Lecter, and they had 2 guards in front, 2 guards in back. And they took me out of my cell 3 times a day for insulin. And in the beginning, I didn't understand, but they would handcuff my ankles so tight it would cut the back of my tendon. and then one of the inmates finally told me how to stop it, but by bending your foot forward. But anyhow, long story short, it was quite a challenging time, and I normally don't talk about it because it's something I rather not remember because it was horrible. But if you're a Christian and you're in prison, you do not get the kind of treatment that regular prisons get. You get much worse.
When they say SHU, it means special housing unit. Then you got to add the E with extra attention for patriots, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a guy in prison right now, which you all need to pray for and support. His name is Senator John Woods. He did the awful thing of being a senator from Arkansas, state senator from Arkansas, and he was the only one to support Trump, and he got 18 years for getting money to a Christian school. The Christian school did a fundraiser for him, and so they charged him with bribery because the Christian school did a fundraiser for him and gave him 18 years, and then the FBI agent got caught deleting 64 megabytes. He got convicted of felony. He got probation. And unfortunately, Senator John Woods is still in prison today. And he's only about.
And what do we got to do for Trump to get on that? That's a match made in heaven to tell that tale and have Trump release him and pardon him and stuff like that. What's going on?
Yeah, he's pardoned people that are much less deserving than John Woods. I mean, I don't know. It's just shocking. I don't know what to say. I mean, we had Peter Tipnick and all kinds of prominent people, the Ed Martin and all these people know about it. I can't explain it. But I tell you this, if I get in there, John Woods will be out because.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Woods, an American hero, an untold story. But yes, we need to keep that story alive, tell the tale of truth, and we need to get Steve pardoned by President Donald J. Trump, and we need to get John Woods free and out, and we need to convict the other John Brennan, who we've been talking about a lot during the show today. There's a lot of people that need to be convicted that seem to just be above the law. I mean, the Clintons, for starters, we can keep going.
John Brennan voted for Gus Hall, the head of the Communist Party, ran for president. He voted for like the leader of the Communist Party USA. Could you imagine if Trump had someone that voted for Hitler in his cabinet and put him in charge of the CIA? Oh, my goodness.
That's the problem. See, Americans are afraid of their own shadow. The conservatives have got to start to realize this is not a spectator sport. This is what do you want to call it? This is a serious battle for the sacred cause of liberty, Sheriff.
It is, and we've got to wake up, and the American people have got to rise up in righteous indignation and join the holy cause of liberty. I do want to thank Steve way back when, 2013, he attended and spoke at our CSPOA convention in St. Charles, Missouri, Sam.
I'm waiting for him to speak again at one of our events, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait a minute. Do you remember what happened at that event?
Yeah, the tornado.
All right, hang tight, everybody. Steve Stockman, ladies and gentlemen. Stockman Now, donate liberally. It's the only time we believe in liberalism when it comes to your donations. Start with a positive number and add zeros, baby. All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Stockman, StockmanNow.com. He's just announced he's running. The third time's the charm in the readjusted district. They redistrict, then they fight it, then they go to court, then it gets shut down, then it gets brought back, and then it gets, codified? Is that how it is? I don't know. Anyway, they call me a rebel, says Steve, and if defending the Constitution and the personal liberty of every American citizen makes me a rebel, then I'm a rebel with a cause.
Amen.
A rebel with a cause. I dig it, man. I love it, Steve.
Well, it's funny. I've been signing off for years. It said, I'm taking it off, obviously, Marlon Brando movie, but I for years said I'm a rebel with a cause. And then one of my volunteers said to me, Steve, Franklin Graham wrote that book in the 90s. And I went, oh, no, he stole it from me before I knew I stole it from him.
Well, bright minds think alike. Let's just say it like that. Sheriff, I've got a kind of an interesting thing. I've talked to Steve, and if he becomes the next congressman, we're going to broadcast Liberty Roundtable live from not the Oval Office, but from his congressional office. And I'd like to invite you to join us there.
I'll be the first one in line for that, Matt. I'll tell you that.
Wouldn't that be a great broadcast? Roundtable
Hey,
Live.
Sam.
Yes, sir.
Sam, can I come to it too?
Yeah,
At your office? Absolutely.
we'll think about it. We'll have to let you know on that, Steve.
So,
But
Steve, there's so
I
many
think
issues. Go ahead.
I think it would be a hoot. I think it would be really great, and we'd get so much publicity, and it will be a lot of fun. And I'll guarantee you, we'll be the first one to do it. And the next thing you know, there'll be other congressmen doing it, and they go, "Oh, they're so smart." They won't realize that we are the ones that first did it. And I think it'll become popular. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea, and I think it creates accountability. I think it creates direct relationship between our representatives and the people that they represent. I mean, this is huge opportunity. You know, Donald Trump talks about the new media and talks about honest media telling the tale of truth, but yet he spends his time with the old guard media that seems to hate him at every turn. I find that fascinating, to say the least. But the new media will be taking center stage in Congress if you help at stockmannow.com, ladies and gentlemen. So there's so many hot topics to discuss, Steve, and we don't have near enough time. What are going to be the hottest topics for you to focus on in Congress?
Well, in Congress, like I said, we got in our district, we have that Colony Ridge. We got to stop this. It's a demographic shift deliberately done, and it's not just done in the United States. If you guys follow on X some of the stuff that's going on in Europe and in Ireland. In fact, one Irish mayor actually came out and said if the Irish don't convert to Islam, they need to leave Ireland. I was like, what? We invite you into our home, and then you threaten us to kick us out of our own home.
Well, that's because they focus on our ideals when they're the underdog. Once they become the lords and masters
right.
or think they have enough power, they pull out their real agenda, right?
Yeah, all these Christmas markets that are very popular in Europe, they've set off smoke bombs. They wrote "Free Palestine," and another guy tearing down Christmas trees and stuff. It said it's offensive that they need. And many of the cities have capitulated. Even in Oregon now, I heard that they had a lighting of a tree, and they celebrate Indigenous Day in December. I don't know what that is all about. I don't know how that turned into a holiday in Oregon. But that's, some of the things that they got going on is eroding the culture of America. And we are the greatest compassionate nation in the world. And to destroy such a beautiful nation and to emulate countries which are such failures is mind-boggling. They go, we want to be like Somalia. The restaurant in Somalia, which was, I don't see it was Somalia, it really is. In Minneapolis, it was involved in billions of dollars in fraud.
Yeah, they call that little Somalia, Steve.
Yeah, and the liberals went to the restaurant to support them, and they're ripping the taxpayers off, and they're like celebrating it. It's unbelievable. It's mind-boggling. It's really, I think Pat Buchanan I think he wrote the book Suicide of the West. I think it really summarizes what we're doing.
Boy, howdy,
he
is
wrote
that the
what,
truth.
92?
He also highlighted the fact that the Republican and Democratic parties are really one uniparty, left and right wings of the same bird of prey. But anyway, I digress. Sheriff?
Well, I wanted to get back to the thing, the topic we were talking about right before the break. You were referring to the event that happened at the 2013 conference. You were referring to the tornado, correct?
Yeah, it was hilarious. You guys are so funny. You were so casual. The tornado was coming, and the sheriff goes, "Let's go in the basement and protect ourselves." Which, by the way, I don't know if you remember this. It picked up a car and threw it over the hotel. It was like incredible.
Oh yeah,
from what I understand.
And all we did is went in the hallway and got a stool, and and the speaker stood up on the stool, man, and just delivered in the dark. It was great.
That's what he was telling you. He said, "Steve, you got to give your speech down here." I'm going, "What?" I said, "We're in the shelter."
Hey man,
Liberty must go
on, my friend.
Huh?
Hey, the show must go on.
The show must go on.
Yeah. It was pretty wild.
That just proves that the CSPOA conferences, we're not going to let a little thing like a tornado get in the way of what we're trying to accomplish to save America.
It's like tornado schmado. Let's. But we did. We told the tale of truth during the tornado, and we're telling the tale of truth now. And we really got to focus on Stockman now, ladies and gentlemen, because the third time's the charm. And we need to really realize that, look, we don't have time to mess around anymore. It's time for the American people to gird up their loins and get to business, get to work, make a difference. We can do this thing. They want you to believe that America's just off the rails forever. There is hope in God Almighty. There is hope in his servants who are willing to stand for the sacred cause of liberty, really no matter the cost. And that's really what we're talking about, Sheriff.
That's correct, and we're joking around a little bit with this,
Get
but it
on your
was
mic
actually
more.
true. Everything we were saying, it was actually true.
There you go.
And this is the thing: we must get good people in office, and this is
Man.
vital to save America. And Steve, I want to thank you and Patty for doing this and getting back in the game. You've been through it all. Both of you have been through so much, and God bless you as you stand for liberty and try to restore America to its greatness, and to again protect the civil rights and God-given rights of every American in your district. And what's the number of the district that you're running in?
District 9 outside of Houston, and it's
Yes.
around 800,000 people, but only about 30,000 people vote in the primary.
Well, God bless you and your good family, your good wife. God bless that district, and we are going to do everything to help you get back in. And man, oh man, thanks so much for running, and thanks for your courage. I really am proud to call you friend, but more importantly, I'm really proud that you're standing once again for God given American liberty and our constitutional republic. Thank you so much.
I got a personal
Well,
story
thank
I
you.
want to tell. I had called Steve after he got out of jail. His health wasn't so good at the time because they just beat him up in jail and didn't give him the proper care that he needed. COVID rifled through there. Anyway, I called Steve and I said, I'm going to end up in Houston, and I'm going to be, I can't remember how long, 2.5 hours away from the Woodlands area or whatever that I need to go to. And Steve, do you have any way to get me there? Steve goes, man, I'll take you. Him and his wife both took me. We went out to lunch and ate chicken, the best fried chicken my daughter, she was with us, has ever had. And he comes and he takes me to this event. And I'm like, Steve, do you want to join us? He's like, well, if that's all right. Okay, we need Americans like that don't think they're rock stars, that realize that, hey, we're all the American people. We work together. Congressmen and senators serve their districts. The constituents matter. And I'm just telling you some personal stories because I want you to know who Steve really is. Sheriff, I find that story. When was the last time a congressman just said, oh, yeah, I'll drop my world and drive 5 hours for you? Not even knowing if he's going to attend the event. And then I invite him. So they go, okay, well, we'd love to come too. But I'm just saying he wasn't even asking for anything at all. Nothing.
That's the type of person we're dealing with here. And that's why you and I are so dedicated to his campaign and to his success. We need more of them. What would America be like if we had dozens and dozens and hundreds of Steve Stockmans in Congress standing for the cause of liberty? I mean, yeah,
Criminals would be going to prison, patriots would be standing tall. I mean, we can just start going from there, right?
Yeah,
you guys are very, very touching. I sure appreciate those comments.
Well,
In fact,
Steve, normal
I'm
people
gonna take
would give up after almost 3 years in prison on trumped up fabricated charges and IRS baloney. And we have got to, this is what we've been calling President Trump to do. We have got to get the IRS abolished. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. You know what was funny while we were in prison? There's no Democrats, by the way, that were Democrat politicians locked up. They're all Republican and conservatives. I met a minister who was preaching against Obama. He got 3 years. There's another pastor, Zodiates, who got time for, quote, kidnapping because he drove someone to the airport. And so we were there, and we ended up creating a group, and we drafted commercials for Trump's election in 2020. And Patty produced them. So we never gave up on our country, even though we were in prison.
I love it, ladies and gentlemen. Indict and prosecute to the full extent of the law Jack Smith. Abolish
Amen.
the IRS. Elect
Amen.
a rebel with a cause, StockmanNow.com, because he's standing for the sacred cause of liberty, which Sheriff Richard Mack, I hope I speak for you and myself, we highly endorse.
Amen.
There's a good old amen from everybody. Thank you, Patty, as well, Steve Stockman's dear wife. She's a rock star hero, I'll tell you that right now. StockmanNow.com will have him back and keep up with his campaign, and we're looking forward to broadcasting from Capitol Hill in the Steve Stockman congressional offices. Thanks so much for being alongside for the ride. I'm Sam Bushman. God save our republic.